Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Echelon Cycling Podcast, where we discuss all things pro cycling, I guess, and look at the week just gone and look into the future as well, because we're deep into the winter part of the season. But as always, I'm joined by Mr. Craig himself, Ewan Wilson, and Mr. Patrick Blake. And I mean, guys, it's been a busy week. It's going to be a busy podcast. Yeah, what's going to be your highlight?
I have no idea. It's
Great start, Patrick. Great start.
I know. I thought I'd set us off with a good, flying start. This winter, you kind of wait for a World Cup every weekend, and you hope that there's some interesting stories throughout the week. It feels like there's just been loads of little stories going on. I have been quite enjoying I don't know, or not enjoying the kind of jumbo circulation around riders, and it makes me very just like shaky on the inside, fearing that Jumbo are going to start hoovering up talent when they're already super strong. But I'm quite looking forward to talking about all the rumors and stuff that are going around about that.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week for these little tidbits, some sort of team news, some little corporate gems as well that we will dive into later into this episode. It's the off season, but we're gearing up for the next season. It feels like we've had a couple kits being revealed this week, and we're really gearing up for 2024.
We might as well start with the kits, Ewan. And do you want to tell us about the new kits or the not so nice kits?
Well, let's begin with sort of the big news this week that came, and it came on Monday. It's the AG2R Citroën. Well, they ditched Citroën. We knew this was going to happen during the season, and it's now official. Jumping on board is popular French sports retailer Decathlon. You can find it all across Europe. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. Honestly, I recommend, if you're ever bored, go to a Decathlon and just walk around for 30 minutes. It's amazing.
Whoa, what's going on here?
I'm not getting paid by them, but I think it's fantastic. I've got football shorts from Decathlon, everything, camping stuff, my raincoats from Decathlon. It's a wonderful store. But they're now the title sponsor of AG2R, so it's going to be called Decathlon-AG2R La Mondiale, or Decathlon-AG2R in the new year. This came with a big sort of launch in the north of France. Decathlon is a retailer based in the north of France. One of actually France's richest families owns Decathlon, the retailer. It's a long-term project, and the CEO says that it is a partnership in every sense of the word. This has meant that there are some new sort of things happening there. They're now riding new bikes. The new bikes will be Van Rysel. You've probably seen them if you've been to a Decathlon store. To all our European viewers, it is like their affordable in-bike brand. We don't know how really they're going to ride on the top level. We haven't seen Van Rysel at the World Tour level before. They are more sort of affordable bikes, under about €1,000. And we know these World Tour bikes retail for usually about like €8,000. So it'll be a big step up for them, but they're definitely putting a lot of money into their research and development for these higher bracket bikes that we're going to see. They're also going to be riding the Van Rysel helmets and the glasses as well. Van Rysel were providing stuff for Cobbles, a team that's also based in the north of France. We'll see if that partnership continues into the new year. Also with this Decathlon AG2R announcement, we got the formal announcements of a couple of their signings. Sam Bennett, he signed, as we know, Warner Milai as well, who wore the pink jersey for a couple of days at the Giro. Then we also got a bit of a shock transfer announcement for Dries de Bont. Didn't really get any transfer rumors from him, but he was announced on the launch day to be heading over to Decathlon AG2R. And alongside all of this, we also have their new kits, which is interesting. There's no brown shorts anymore. Maybe since AG2R are no longer the title sponsor, they have axed that one. Instead, it is a blue, white, and black affair, looking very Estonian in some regard. The top half of the kit is at a slight angle. That is blue. The sleeves are blue with the Decathlon logo there and the iconic colors. Underneath that, AG2R La Mondiale's logo with, I believe, brown text, but the shorts are black for next year. So that's a bit of an announcement there with Decathlon AG2R. It's going to get some used to not having AG2R as the title sponsor. They're now going to be Decathlon after, in all of my time watching cycling, and probably all of our time watching cycling, AG2R has been the title sponsor of that team, and now we have something new to factor in. They're now Decathlon.
Did they sign Victor Lafay as well, or am I?
He was formally announced, but apparently I heard that he's now being paid less money at Decathlon than he was being offered at Cofidis. So it's interesting that he's made this jump, but this kind of fits on trend. Victor Lafay has maybe like 1 week where he's incredible throughout the year and is sort of anonymous throughout the rest. Is it really going to be worth AG2R's money in Victor Lafay to bring him over and to sort of spark up this lineup.
Didn't we hear that he was earning €2 million? Was that just a dud then?
Well, he was going to be offered a lot of money at Cofidis, which is what we were saying a couple months back, is that he was going to be offered a big money contract at Cofidis. He was hunted down by lots of World Tour teams for next year. Seemed like he was staying at Cofidis because the rumors went away, said that he had a big money offer there, but this Decathlon move has happened, and we sort of had murmurs of this Age2R move when it was Age2R a couple months back, but now it's fully announced with the Decathlon move, and apparently it is for less money. But this Decathlon, the Decathlon merger, this team has quote unquote had a lot of money for a while. When Citroën jumped on board, we're like, oh, they're going to be a great force. Didn't really light up the top of the standings. Ben O'Connor was a budget transfer for them. They got him at the 11th hour when he was desperate for a team. He really reaped some sort of reward for them. Felix Gall as well, probably wasn't on a big contract when he joined the squad. And they've been their two big stars in the Tour de France over the past couple of years. But now, with the Decathlon jumping on board, we would assume it's going to be a lot of money. It is a budget sort of affordable retailer, but they are, of course, one of France's biggest companies. So it'll be interesting to see how much they bring on board and if the team really steps up in the years to come.
Oh, it feels like, O'Connor and Gal definitely kind of pull their weight, but I don't want to be outing people, but I am. Kuznefroy, he is underperforming for me massively. He has like one day a year where he does well, which was the GP of Quebec in 2022. It hasn't really happened this year, to be honest with you. Doesn't perform at Grand Tours. I feel like Lafay is almost like a insurance policy, or not even like an insurance policy, but like co-leader to so that they have like at least two stops at the one-day races in the Ardennes, because Lafay is probably capable of like top 10ing most of the Ardennes, I'd say. I think it's an exciting move. It's always quite interesting when a new sponsor comes on and kind of shakes up the kit. I know a lot of people like the brown shorts. I was very just impartial, I guess, to them. They were quite iconic, but at the end of the day, kind of for me, a kit's a kit, and I don't really mind too much when it's one colour or not. Mainly the thing is, how easy is it for us to spot from an aerial shot? That's like the main thing for me. But yeah, I quite like it as a move. I'm interested in the budget bikes, whether they'll be like cut the mustard, so to say. Or
apparently they're not supposed to be budget. This is their way of getting it into a more premium setting. Yeah. But it's weird that they've gone for Decathlon-AG2R instead of Van Rysel AG2R, that they're promoting the shop instead of the bike brand.
Yeah.
But the bike brand is exclusive to the store. The bike brand is Decathlon's own in-house brand, which is from that store. Decathlon is bigger than Van Rysel itself. But
that's why you would do
Van Rysel to become bigger. But they kind of go hand in hand. If you're going to go to Decathlon to buy a bike, at least in the Decathlons I've been to in France and the United Kingdom, you can only buy Van Rysel bikes there.
Yeah, I'd just be concerned as to how are they just going to be like shipping time in the TTs, because there's been like such minimal testing done. Well, I don't know how much testing they've done, but like, you know what I mean? There's established brands here who have been testing for years and years and years and years. How are they going to stack up to them?
And even like models and like trial and error learning from like this model, we learned from this. I don't think Van Rysel, I don't believe they really stock time trial bikes, these high-end premium bikes. The most expensive one is like maybe €2,000 maximum. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like
$5,000, and they do have TT bikes. So
edit it out, Scott. I didn't do enough research. I'm doing this based on the Decathlons I've been to, but
it looks very nice, their TT bike, I have to admit.
Lots of things can look nice on a bike, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're fast. Like if Ben O'Connor's shipping 2 minutes on a TT bike because it's not very well.
Going from BMC to this is probably going to be a big change. BMC bikes are nice.
I don't trust the kind of lack of testing behind it is my thing. Especially when you've had a guy like a Felix Gall who did really well this year. You'd be wanting to really build on that and just basically being like, we're going to kind of hedge our bets of a brand that may or may not stack up to your bigger established brands is a bit of a risk for me. But if it pays off, then it pays off. And I think it's a pretty decent move from Decathlon to kind of get their foot into the door of a World Tour. I think that's kind of like a cool move. It's cool to see a different brand enter the World Tour and not just everybody riding kind of same bikes, or when we had that year of like a carousel of teams and bikes and stuff going round and round and round. Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting move, and hopefully Decathlon, I'm going to have to get used to that as well. Decathlon-AG2R have a successful 2024 because it's been a bit shaky sometimes.
Also looking as well with this announcement, we had the signing of 2 young riders who I'm a little bit sort of bamboozled by, one more than the other. Gianluca Polafleet is 21 years of age, about to turn 22. He's moving across. He was with the Lotus Soudal development team. Also, he was at Krog, which is a really, really promising youth team in Flanders. That's where Remco Evenepoel and Cian Uijtdebroeks rose to the ranks as well. He's had some decent results over the past couple of years in the youth races, such as the Tour of South Bohemia, a couple of top 10s at the Baby Giro, or the Giro Next Gen, as it's now known. And he was 3rd place in the Belgian National Championships. He won the under-23s Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. That one I understand more than this one. Sander de Pestel. He's 25 years of age, born in 1998, has not taken any professional victories. His best result in his Palmares is 6th place at the Antwerp Port Classic. Really looking through his Palmares, I'm not seeing anything really stand out, to be honest, but he has managed to scoop up a 2-year contract with Decathlon-AG2R. This one really confuses me. It's not even like he has a famous family around him or anything. Sometimes we know cycling can be a little bit sort of nepotistic sometimes, but the Pestel, I'm really confused by this one. I don't quite understand where this has come from.
No, all I really remember is this guy being in breakaways of like cobbled races. I'm not sure whether it's just a pure supporting role. It's a bit of a weird age in cycling at the moment, is being that kind of mid-20s, because generally cycling is quite polarized now, where it's quite like, you kind of like this young gun hot guy. I know that Pogacar's like 25, but you know what I mean? Kind of like the established kind of youngsters, this new generation. And then there's kind of like the road captains. So it's kind of like being 25, he's kind of like not broken through so far. So what's kind of like what's he going to be bringing? Because no offense to AG2R, they're not like a killer cobbled team. This isn't like Ollie Nason back in 2017 that we're talking about. This is 2023, where you've got Van der Poel, who could probably beat Ollie Nason with one leg. But Beata Quermont, like, I'm just saying, it's probably not that far off. But you know what I mean? Where does he fit in?
But we might as well move on into Cyclocross Corner, as we always love to do. And this week, the Super Prestige was in Boom in Belgium, and you had, the World Cup was over in, I think, West France. So it's a bit of a commute if you wanted to do the 2 races. One guy did, Uijtdebroeks. He won the World Cup event in France and finished 3rd in Boom. And Jordi Newhouse won another stage win. There was also an incident with a goose on the track as well, which was a bit strange. And then we also had Fem van Empel back, and she kind of shrugged when she won the race, which I'm not quite sure. Was that like no rivals, but she wasn't at the French World Cup event. So, but in the World Cup standings right now, we have Eli Iserbyt winning the men's, and I'm sure Ewan was quite happy with Cameron Mason finishing on the podium as well in the Super Prestige.
I like the Super Prestige ones because it kind of gives not all the big names turn up there, like, and it sometimes gives a different kind of limelight to somebody else. And it certainly helped guys like Ewan Houses and like Ron Haas to really kind of get into the limelight, I think. And then they kind of then go on to excel, which they then did today in the World Cup event, which was at Flamanville, which had a pontoon element to it. They went across water or something like that, which was a bit of a gimmick, but it's there nonetheless. You got to kind of get your niche as a cyclocross race, I guess it is. But you can get a little bit same old. But yeah, Ellie Iserbyt took that ahead of Lars van der Haar and Pim Ronhaar, who is having a bit of a breakthrough year for me. I think in previous years I've been kind of aware of him being on Baloise Trek Lions, but 22 years old and he's having a really good season. I think he's taken a massive step up, and I think that he's seriously kind of forging a name to like not just being sort of the kind of people filling out the top 10, but he's a serious contender for winning these races in the next few years if he keeps on at this progression.
Really odd place to host a cyclocross race. I don't know how they found this little town in Normandy. But it's cool to see like other people have a chance. I think that's what this year's kind of been. I know the interest has been definitely lower than otherwise, but easy a bit to come over and have a really strong week, and also to see Cameron Mason really fly up the ranks is is fantastic to see for the sport and for sort of the pluralism of it all.
I remember Wout van Aert winning Boom one year, the Super Prestige, I think maybe 2 years ago. So we're in December now and they haven't even started yet. We know they have this, well, someone has, I think it was Cyclo-24. They've actually shown exactly where they're all going to meet as well. And the big four, the big three, if you will. Yeah, we're a bit deprived of those three, but it'll have to be. Nevertheless, with Pim Ronhard, the exciting news as well is that he's going to be riding as a stagiaire for Lidl Trek in 2024 from August. And I mean, we were complaining, I think last week or the week before, that we don't really see that many cyclocross riders. If they all kind of have similar abilities to Match Van Poel, Wout van Aert and Pidcock, they don't actually all do it. Like Elisabeth, put a name in Michael Van Tour out, you don't see him riding for Jayco Ayula, for example. And yeah, this could be quite exciting for the young Dutchman.
Yeah, part of me is, I'm excited, but I'm also a bit apprehensive. I'm excited because he is doing insanely well this year, and I think it's just cool when a name really kind of comes out of the blue and starts to try and shake up the road scene, because we've got quite an established structure, I'd say, we have at the moment. So it's good when some kind of new kid pops up onto the block. But on the other hand, I'm a little bit apprehensive because I look to somebody like, riders have gone from cyclocross to road, but it hasn't been successful. Like Nieuwenhuis is a perfect example of that. He went to Sunweb and then nothing really happened, and now he's gone back to cyclocross and he's doing good again. So I'm a bit worried that, okay, yeah, he's doing great on cyclocross. He has done a couple of road races. He won the Flèche du Sud, which is in Luxembourg. He won that this year in 2023. You know, I just don't want him to step up and have all this hype and then all of a sudden it just like fizzles away to nothing. Not everybody is a Van der Poel, Van Aert and Pidcock at the end of the day. It's not just like you do cyclocross and you will do well in road. So hopefully the transition is smooth and he gets decent results. That's all I want.
Yeah, it's true. Also, there's a bit of partnership between the Trek cyclocross team and the Lidl Trek World Tour team. We're seeing as well, what's his name? Thibaut Nace is also moving up to the Lidl Trek as well. He has moved up to Lidl Trek, and it seems like a natural progression. Lidl Trek have done a lot of sort of a lot of good young signings as well over the past couple of months. I'm surprised he didn't go through to the little development team before that. So they must have enough faith for him to be fast tracked straight into the senior World Tour level squad for next year. So I'm really intrigued to see how he's going to develop and what he's going to do on the road, because he's been, yeah, as you said, super good in the cyclocross this year.
I mean, Flèche du Sud is quite a good indicator when you look at it. Thibaut Nace won it the year before. Quinn Hermans has won it. Mark Peter-Dun. Then you've also got Michael Velgren, Bob Jungels, Geraint Thomas, Andy Schlecht, Bradley Wiggins. So, I mean, Pim Ronhard's going to win the Tour de France.
It's a real eclectic list of winners there, from like Tour de France winners and then like other classic stars. So it's interesting to see which mold Pim Ronhard will fall into. We haven't really had like a cyclocross guy really go for GC. Sorry, Wout van Aert, but that'll be really cool if he goes for it.
I mean, speaking of Wout van Aert, he was confirmed this week that, what was it? That he's not targeting GC or...
Yeah, so he's going to the Giro. We know this now. He was like, I can't say anything, but he is. But he says that he's not targeting GC. We'll see what happens with this. The rumors were saying he's trying to go for GC, hopefully a top 5, that's the goal. But now this week he's denying that and saying he's not going for GC. We'll find out what he does. At the Giro itself, there's a first week that really could offer up a chance for him to sort of test it out and see if he is in top 10 at the end of the week. Or maybe he goes for the Maglia Ciclamino instead. But yeah, Wout van Aert denying Giro GC efforts when nobody else is even saying that they want to go for the Giro GC, so you might as well just go for it.
Wout van Aert is the king of just smoke and mirrors sometimes. But it wouldn't even surprise me if he did go for GC and kind of, I mean, it's all flipped on its head and we all say, oh my word, he lied to us again. Yeah, GC Wout will just be lame. Don't do that. Like, come on, Wout, let's be real here.
But
you're a big guy.
For us, it provides a narrative, like an intrigue. It's a bit of a narrative there to see like what he's gonna do, like watch out for him. A bit like Remco Evenepoel when he came to that Giro a couple of years back in 2021, where it's like we don't really know where it's coming from, we don't know how it's going to go. I think it'll be interesting to see how Wout van Aert tackles being a Grand Tour leader. It's already interesting enough that he's at the Giro instead of the Tour de France, but for him to really go for GC, that's going to be fascinating, because he might be right up there one day and then all of a sudden he's out of it or whatever. Like that's just going to give us some great videos during the Giro.
Harvey really thinks as to whether he's capable of doing it. I think he's got, if he really focused on it, and he said that, I feel like he could do it. I mean, But I mean, it's not Pro Cycling Manager, so it's not like he's just going to turn up there and just like, win the thing.
I was just going to say that I actually did a video on the Cycling Day Gaming channel where I simulated what he would do at the Giro. He won 9 stages and finished on the podium, second place, won the points classification and the mountains jersey. So
there you go.
And that is a video game.
Yeah. So and he's like, oh, I don't want to compromise the classics. All right, wow, you don't want to compromise you not winning Paris-Roubaix or Ronde van Vlaanderen again. Okay, cool. It's like, what was happening when you were focusing on it fully? Like, you may as well just go for GC at that point and just, sack it all off. He'll be far more interesting as somebody who's hunting stages and doing well in TTs and generally just causing a little bit of like a just rogue rider kind of role than somebody who's just going to be trying to hang on to coattails of the GC boys. I don't think that's the Wout van Aert I want to see. I want to see 2022 Tour de France Wout van Aert just causing havoc and just making a race far more entertaining than just another GC player, because GC is just boring enough as it is.
Kind of want the debate settled about like what Wout van Aert could do in a GC though. Like in terms of like could he if he had his own chances, would he be able to top 10 out? I want this debate settled once and for all about the whole like can Sepp Kuss win a Grand Tour? Yes, we now know this debate has been settled. Like, if Wout van Aert now can go for his own GC chances, we have a more clearer picture of what his own capabilities could be if he was searching out his own chances instead of someone else's. But I do think for a spectator, it will be more interesting for him to go for just rogue stages, be in the breakaway a little bit, and probably win the Male Ciclamino. We'll wait and see. Speaking of Male Ciclamino favorites, we also have one man who's announced for the Giro. Caleb Ewan has announced that he's going to the Giro, as he's now moved to Jake Alula. He's sharing sort of sprinter responsibilities there with Dylan Groenewegen, who's going to target the Tour de France. So Jake Alula sending 2 sprinters to 2 different Grand Tours, which could be, which I think is a very productive strategy. But what happens to Simon Yates in this strategy?
Well,
Eddie Dunbar.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, again, it's a shameless plug, but Scott and we did a preview and we said that Simon Yates should go to the Giro. I mean, I can't remember because I think he said he might be able to win it, but let's be like a podium. After coming 4th in the Tour de France last year, which I think was probably a bit of a, oh wow, like I am actually the GC person that I've always been hyped up to be. And now he can go back to the Giro, which is a bit of his Achilles heel, because it seems to always just kind of like spite him down no matter how good form he has coming into it. I would like to see him finally crack that nut and just, actually do a good Giro and finish on the podium at least. I really think that he could do it with the Juggernauts going to the Tour. He's got a good shot of winning it. He's as good of a shot as any.
I say win. Yeah, win. This is his best shot of winning when you look at it. Who's going to go to the Giro this year?
Yeah, who's going?
Jide Hindley? He can beat Jide Hindley.
Almeida.
He beat Hindley at the Tour. Can beat Hindley again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Hindley had a crash.
Yeah.
I think Simon Yates on his day is probably the best or top 3 climber in the world.
Yeah.
You think?
Better than Jonas.
Yeah.
I was like, geez, you mean?
Yeah, top 3.
Top 3 climber in the world in his day.
Yeah.
I'm saying top 5.
Better than Roglic, Jonas, and Tadej?
Yeah. Wait, what? I didn't say Jonas and Tadej. Like I said, top 3. So that means they're top 2, and then he's at the 3rd. I'm not so convinced of the Roglic project anymore.
Okay.
I'm putting down.
Put your pounds in now, guys.
This is me. This is me just like naysaying Roglic, just finally wearing off.
But who's the better Yates?
Oh well, at the moment, I don't know. Because if you just base it on past tour, the most recent Tour de France, it's on GC. It's
Sure.
Simon because he finished further ahead. But
No, Adam was 3rd.
Yeah. That's that way. Yeah, it was Adam on the podium, the WE,
Adam,
and then we had Simon Yates.
But yeah, I do think that with everyone focusing on the Tour next year, I do think that Simon Yates could have a good shot of winning it.
How many Grand Tours does Adam have? How many? Yeah, exactly.
All right, Simon Yates, 2018. This was like that may as well have been the 1980s. It was that much of like.
Whoa. No, don't do that.
No, but there's been a shift. Like things have gone up like 5-10% since literally 2018.
There was someone who said that Remco and Tadej Pogačar have completely changed the sport. I can't remember who it was. It was a pro cyclist this week as well. There's like you said earlier, so many small portions of news.
They've made it so that every single video that we have to make has to include one of the 6 biggest riders' names. So thank you very much for ruining the cycling YouTube algorithm. Remco Evenepoel, Tadej Pogacar, Jonas Vingegaard, Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel, and Primoz Roglic. Well done.
I'm glad we got that out in the open.
Listen, it's been bugging me for a while.
Welcome to the echelon where we get our pet grudges off our chest.
This is cycling catharsis. We go around the group. Next week we should all bring along like a big like canvas and start like painting, like doing like therapeutic ceramics or something, whilst we like rant about how much these guys have ruined the sport and how evil you
ruined the sport. Oh my goodness, that's too far.
You know those like splodge images where it's like a thing and you're like, oh, what do you see in this image? I see Richard Plugger's evil Jumbo Visma tactics. Well, speaking of which, Richard Plugger apparently has been linked to INEOS Grenadiers, but that has been partially denied by everyone inside INEOS Grenadiers. So I think this is probably a very silly, thin-sided rumor.
I can't believe INEOS Grenadiers have bottled another transfer. That's unbelievable. It's not even a rider; it's staff.
But I think that there's like no way Plugger would move. He's like poured his heart and soul into Jumbo Visma, and he's head of one of the unions in the sport at the moment.
Is it?
Yeah. What's it called? What's the team one called?
Oh, well, we had
AIGCP. Is that what it's called? Have I made that up?
You might have done, but I can't actually say that you're wrong.
It's the one. Well, he's definitely the head of like the union of all the teams together, or is he head of one of the? He's head of one of the cycling unions.
That sounds like a conflict of interest.
Yeah, some people aren't happy about it because he's.
I'm not. I'm
he's
already
also like
not
the
happy
head,
about it.
He's the CEO of like the main team in the world right now. So.
Honestly, he's literally just going to be like, I know Jonas like completely boxed that guy in and put him into a barrier, but he's fine. I'm already not a fan of that.
Anyway, Visma-Lease bike related things. We talked about Cian Uijtdebroeks either last week or the week before. He is apparently a target for, I almost said Jumbo Visma, for Visma-Lease bike. So do you think this is a better fit than potentially some of the other places? I mean, he is a Beneluxian or whatever you want to say. He could fit in quite well. And if you're looking down the team as well, who's like their next heir after Jonas Vingegaard, for example?
I don't think this one's going to happen. I think Uijtdebroeks would go somewhere else. I think Lidl is more realistic than, or INEOS is more realistic than for Uijtdebroeks to go to Lease a bike. I think there's just too many people at Lease a bike and it'll be harder for him to stand out. He also distinctly made the move to Bora Hansgrohe to be a little bit out of the Dutch-speaking press and all of their hype. Ironic now that given that he is now the sort of subject of a lot of news and speculation, but I think Uijtdebroeks will probably stay clear of Lease a bike, or Visma, rather.
I hope he goes. I think he fits perfectly with Visma.
I think, yeah, I can see both sides of it, but I don't know, I kind of agree with Scott. Because, like you said, I mean, it's a very long-term thing, though. It's been like, who's the heir after Jonas Vingegaard? It's like, all right, Uijtdebroeks, my guy. You just sit there for 4 years, and then we'll consider making you Tour de France leader. It's like, you'd just be like, oh, F off, Richard. I want leadership now. Don't give me this Giro malarkey.
What's wrong with the Giro? He could win maybe 2-3 Giros along the way.
Because it's everyone cares about the Tour. The Tour is the Tour is cycling. It is, because it just is. If you ask anybody on earth about, name me a bike racer, I'll kill you. They'll be like Tour de France. That's like the best shot. We're not going to say Giro d'Italia or Ronde van Vlaanderen or Volta Portugal or whatever the heck it is. We're going to say Tour de France because that's the sport that's the event which everyone cares about. In the same way, if you said name a tennis event, somebody would say Wimbledon.
There are two things in cycling that transcend cycling: the Tour de France, the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
And the Olympic Games doesn't race as teams, but teams are allowing their riders to chase it as a main target because it's so important for them. And for Uijtdebroeks, he really should be targeting Tour de France, but I just don't think Visma-Lease bike is the right place. I also don't want to see them sort of dry up the talent, and throw him into a Tour de France train for him to just be like another Wilco Kelderman. In that train of riders going up a mountain. I'm already terrified for Matteo Jorgensen, who is probably going to be an amazing domestique next year, but I'm already terrified that his talent's going to be wasted. So I'm Uijtdebroeks, yeah. Bora or no, stay at Bora is also an option. but Lidl or INEOS, yeah.
Yeah. Do you reckon if he went to Lidl, do you think he'd be leader immediately?
Well,
Or do you think he's
enough? I think they've used up all their riders like for the quota next year anyway, so I don't know how he's going to get there. But
hypothetically,
hypothetically,
if he were to get there, would he immediately transcend past Teo as GC leader of the team?
No. Teo Gegenhardt has a Grand Tour victory behind him. He should go into it as a leader.
That Giro.
Name me a Trek rider who has won a Grand Tour. I can name you several Visma Grand Tour winners.
Well, exactly. Okay, yeah, but
so I would go if I was Uijtdebroeks. I'm like, okay, I want to be a GC rider. Where's the best GC team? Visma. They're probably going to pay him a bucket load as well.
Yeah, okay. But in that case, it's hard of him to stand out at Visma because there are all these Grand Tour winners and
who
finishers.
Sepp Kuss is getting older. Jonas Vingegaard is getting older, so he could. I think it's just perfect for him.
But Johannes Stanamit's coming through. We don't know how
he's going to be both. How many top 10s does Stouten Midner have in the Welter? Exactly 0.
Uijtdebroeks is 1. And Stanamit's hasn't even done a Grand Tour. Come on.
You see, he's already ahead of him.
I mean, it depends how the Ronhard GC project goes at Legal Drag. Of course, we still don't know how this project is going to work out as to whether he's going to get leadership immediately.
How many Tour de l'Avenir does Stouten Midner have?
Stouten has a baby Giro.
0 Tour de l'Avenir because he didn't finish. Uijtdebroeks, youngest ever winner of the Tour de l'Avenir.
Ayuso didn't finish the Tour de l'Avenir, but Ayuso has a Grand Tour podium finish.
Does he ride for Visma-Lease bike?
No.
So he's not relevant.
Let's talk about Arkea Samsic. Arkea B&B Hotels have released their new kit for the new year.
Yay!
They've rebranded. They're now Arkea B&B Hotels rather. B&B Hotels, this was announced like during the Tour de France, if I recall. They've also launched a development team, and they're also pumping more money into their women's team, which is being promoted. They're continuing their work with Bianchi. They're going to continue being the bike sponsors there, but they do not have any Celeste on the kits anymore. The kit is inspired by old Breton legends, so it includes a lot of like mini icons through the kit. It's quite subtle on the left-hand side and on the right sleeve. Then you have that hideous B&B Hotel circle logo in the middle, which we will all recall from the Men in Glass, the Pro Continental team, bearing their name a couple of years back, B&B Hotels. So Arkea, the only Breton team left in the World Tour with a Breton-inspired kit.
The kit's all right. It's red. It's sufficient. And I quite like it. I quite liked the kit last year, to be honest with you. And this isn't too far from it. So, yeah, I'm quite a fan of it. I think that it could be worse. I do think the kind of paneling of the kind of historical reenactment stuff is a little bit odd, I think, up close, but I ain't getting that close to a rider on a TV screen, so it doesn't really matter to me. I think from an aerial shot, it'll look red, and I quite like that. So they'll still have a problem with the Vuelta, though, where they'll have to change it to something. But yeah, decent. I'd give it like a 6.9, 6.8. I don't know.
Gosh, how many decibel places? Yeah, I mean, we might not have the problem of having to sort of see these little Breton icons up close. Okay, didn't win much last year, but they're hoping to sort of scoop up more points next year. And with Arnaud Demar now as their main man, and they've made a couple decent signings of new sprinters like Albanese and so forth, maybe that'll help them to spring up. But yeah, I would agree. I was actually thinking 6.5 in terms of a score. I think it's decent. That B&B Hotel logo, they can't do much about it. It's really ugly. But I think the Breton iconography is really cool. It's a cool touch.
It's fine. I don't really have an opinion about it. At least it's not as atrocious as we had with the Decathlon-AG2R kit, to be honest.
You don't like that one? We didn't.
No. I mean, even someone on Twitter commented that the best rivalry for that AG2R kit is the bin. So I thought that was quite fair.
I think the Decathlon one is so inoffensive. It's just so boring. It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Awful. Like the thing is, like the old Agile one was like kind of like loud and a bit like obnoxious, whereas like this one is just like so inoffensive. It's so bland. It's so 5 out of 10.
Oh, I was gonna say 5. All right,
exactly. It's just middle of the road.
It's full on. It's so mid. It's unbelievable. I think that that's a 5. This one's a 6.8.
And just for reference, DSM Firmenich post NL. Please redesign that kit that you launched or sort of quasi-launched a couple of weeks back. We need something. We need something to look forward to in this kit launch season.
Don't make Jakobsen wear that. Don't make Max Paul wear that.
Rider of the week?
Right.
Not yet. Well, almost there. I mean, Danish Philipsen has been linked as well. We talked about him. Who was it that's out of the race? INEOS Grenadiers. Well, we're quite used to that by now. Them finding themselves out of the race. But yeah, who else?
INEOS and Visma, both out of the race. So it's still between Lidl and Bora.
Is UAE in the fight?
No, UAE are, I believe. It's Lidl and Bora that the only two left.
That's good. I don't want him going to UAE because UAE are hoovering up talent like Jumbo-Visma are, and I'm disliking that.
But also from what we heard about Philipsen is that he wanted a team that could support his endeavours in other disciplines, and I just don't think UAE can offer that.
I think Lidl and Bora are both probably capable of that. Riders of their kind of guys have gone and done, I don't know, like gravel racing and stuff, and they've been able to support that. So I'm going to presume that both of them are capable of supporting his off-roading once. I remember Bora were probably definitely supporting Sagan throughout his time there to do off-roading stuff. So maybe Bora makes a little bit more sense, but I think they're both much of a muchness, to be honest with you. I'm just happy that he's not going to UAE or Jumbo.
And Bora have also been supporting Victor Koretsky as well, the Frenchman in his mountain biking, and they've had Ben Zwiehoff as well, mountain biker, as well as Anton Palzer, who's been a mountaineer as well. So they can do this multidiscipline kind of thing. Lidl Trek, yeah. I mean, they're used to having cyclocross riders in their books with the whole sort of Balwaza Trek setup. So, I mean, I think those two are probably the most sort of sustainable ones for all of his endeavors. But he's not even rumored. He's not even signing for a World Tour team until 2025. So you have a whole year to talk about our Philipsen.
May as well kick it off now. I know he is like 18, but I can't quite pin down what kind of racer he is. What's his rider type? Is
Mathieu van der Poel 2.0.
There. Okay. That's a decent start, I guess. I'm just thinking about, is he just going to be a full-on all-rounder like Wout van Aert? He doesn't look like a sprinter, but he is, at the end of the day, still literally going through puberty. So I don't really think that it's like particularly fair to be like, this guy ain't a sprinter. I think that I think he could literally be anything, which is why INEOS was so keen to get him, and yet they failed that. So that's brilliant. I really don't want him to be a GC contender. I'm so fed up of riders being GC contenders and just being underwhelming. Be a one-day racer, be exciting, be exhilarating. Be a Wout van Aert, but be a Wout van Aert that wins a little bit more on the big stage.
Mathieu van der Poel.
In a very roundabout way, I have just, described Mathieu van der Poel.
But before we go to Rider of the Week, as Ewan desperately wants to get to, maybe it's Eli Iserbyt he wants to put on there, or, well, let's be honest, it's Cameron Mason. We also had the Tour de France 2025. We talked about them a few weeks ago, and the first two stages have been unveiled in Lille. And what do you guys make of it?
Yep, so the first stage is from Lille Métropole to Lille Métropole. It's a road stage, not a time trial, as we previously speculated. It's going to be 185 kilometers in length all around the right northern part of France, passing through Pas-de-Calais, that's département. We pass through Cassel, one of France's most beautiful towns, as we predicted on the other speculative video. We pass through Cassel actually twice in this Grand Depart. First time we'll come on stage 1, there are 2 or 3 categorized climbs on the agenda, and it will be a sprint finish most likely. The first time we've had a sprinter's chance to take the yellow jersey since 2020 and that COVID Tour de France. That was a bit of a weird stage because there were lots of crashes and a lot of rain. So you would say the first pure sprinter's chance since 2019 when we started in Bay XL, Brussels. Stage 2 is from Loire-Planche to Boulogne-sur-Mer. Boulogne-sur-Mer is actually where Peter Sagan took his second ever Tour de France stage win back in 2012. It's a city that many people might have been to on a little seaside holiday. It's popular there. 209 kilometers in length with some hills. It's quite chaotic hills in that part of the world, short and steep indeed. With the finish, it could be uphill in the end. The profile says it's going to be ever so slightly uphill, but that's also probably due to be changed, or that could be tweaked at least. When we came to Boulogne back in 2012, it was an uphill finish. Stage 3 is from Valenciennes to Dunkirk. When I saw that Valenciennes were hosting a stage, I was really excited because this is proper cobble country. Valenciennes is literally like next to all of the famous cobble sectors in that race. But stage 3 does not include any cobble sectors, despite the fact we're going to be passing by Orchies, which has a cobble sector. We're going to be passing by the Mons-en-Pévèle town, but not going through the cobble sectors at all. Instead, we go to Dunkirk, right on the northern coastline, famous for World War II, and a film that includes Harry Styles. We pass through Cassel once more with 30 kilometers to go. That's probably the only cobblestones we're going to get through the little pretty town of Cassel. It will be another sprinter's finish, but there's real chance for wind towards the end. It's a very exposed part of northern France with La Manche, with the English Channel just north. So, guys, a chance for the sprinters to take yellow on day 1, day 2 for the classics guys, and stage 3, sprint with a chance of win.
Yeah, I quite like it in a way. I think especially with this upcoming year, with the Grande Partenza, which is going to be quite a difficult one. Seems like ASO's definitely kind of found a bit of a formula for success in terms of a puncher kind of start. But if you do it every year, like it's too much of a good thing, isn't it? Everybody gets a little bit tired of the same thing over and over. However good, it is to see the big dogs, the big sprint punchers who are generally some of the bigger names in the sport, really going hammer and tongs. I quite like the prospect that a sprinter's going to get it, just because it's just something that's a little bit different. It gives, and the sprinter's a little bit chaotic, so it gives a bit of a chance for somebody a bit unknown, like a Groenewegen or something, for example, just to randomly kind of pull a yellow jersey out the back. And I think that's quite cool. I do enjoy that. Then, yeah, it gives day 2 the punchers, kind of gives us that little snippet there. And, that stage to Calais showed, in 2022, showed just how much a few little hills in the last 10 kilometers or last 15, 20 Ks of a race can really shape to make it a really good finale. So I like that we're going back to the sprints. It feels old school, feels very like 2015. But I do fear about crashes, though. We all know that the first stage of a Grand Tour is always very, very sketchy. Everyone's wanting to be at the front of a race, and I really don't want like a Carapaz and Mas situation again where they just crash in the first day or two, and then we're already down GC leaders. I'm not saying that like the nerves kind of disappear, but I might have preferred a prologue to start. Then again, we've had very sketchy prologues in the past as well. Think back to that one where Valverde was unfortunately slipped on. Yeah, I think back to that. So I think there's going to be sketchiness either way, and there's no way to prevent crashing. But I do fear about a very high-speed sprint in the first day, and hopefully just like no big names or just anybody in general just goes down at like 60 k's an hour, because that would really suck.
That's one of the reasons they didn't want to put cobbles in, despite the fact that we were up in this part of the country, is that they said having cobbles in stage 1 would be unfair. It wasn't right for the racing. Cobbles will come back in the future, however. That was what they said in response to people sort of being a bit disappointed there weren't cobbles in this Grand Départ, given that we are in cobble country. But yeah, it definitely is a little bit worrying. I'm looking back, we've had so many big crashes on stages that have Grand Tours that begin with the flat stage. Also some chaotic finishes as well, which have made some interesting racing. But we have unsuspecting yellow jerseys. Marcel Kittel, for instance, made his big breakthrough in 2013, taking that very chaotic sprint win on stage 1. Lucas Pastelberger, the Giro back in 2017, taking a really, really surprise victory for Bora Hansgrohe on that day at the Giro in Sardinia. So there is chance for something sort of bizarre to happen. And I'm glad the sprinters have a chance to get that yellow jersey, because it doesn't happen very often for them anymore. It seems like the Galacticos are kind of taking hold of everything, and the sprinters have been kind of put aside. We don't have maybe a sprinting superstar. I know we like Philipsen is probably like the sprinting superstar we have, but he doesn't quite have that same like market value that sort of the Cavendish versus Greipel versus Kittel versus Sagan kind of battle had back in 2016. So it's cool that we're gonna have a chance, the sprinters, to really have it, and we can sort of debate and speculate who's going to get the yellow jersey on day 1 between these sprinters who don't usually have a sort of weigh-in for the yellow jersey.
And I mean, chaotic finishes. Do you remember the Orica Green Bunch getting stuck under the that was a whole debacle where they were shifting the finishing line up and down the road, and then you had like Harrogate as well, Mark Cavendish desperately trying to get it, and then I mean, if it was the Giro, we would be starting with a cobblestone team time trial just to get the front pages of all the newspapers. But yeah, I mean, that's a shame. I mean, Patrick, what do you think of this start? Do you think it's a good thing, or are you disappointed?
I did kind of hope for some cobbles. Because when were they last in? It wasn't last year, it was the year before then, I believe. I remember seeing some really good ones, which is like cobbles should be treated almost like one of those monumental mountaintop finishes, like an Alpe d'Huez or a Galibier, it shouldn't be something which we're expecting to see every year. They're almost should be treated as their own very special thing. And I guess that, it was only 2 years ago that we saw Cobbles. So I guess that Cobbles coming back, especially since no, that's this year's. I was going to say we got gravel. I was like, no, that's this year's and as well as 2024's. Maybe it was right for Cobbles to come back because it won't be in 2024, it'll be 2025. So by that time, it's been quite a more extended period of time. So I would like to have seen it. It just feels really rubbish that we're going to the heart of all these cobblestones and we are purposefully missing them out. It just feels a bit rude almost to visit such an area and ignore them, Is that just me, or does that feel a bit rude to me? It'd be like just going by the foot of outdoors and be like, oh, hey, we're just gonna go this way.
I'm with you on this one. I think that's what makes it kind of frustrating, is because we're literally in cobble country and we're not even like utilizing them or sort of paying homage to the cobbles. I know we're passing by a couple, like passing by Oshis and Mont-Saint-Pavel and so forth, but like we're gonna get an aerial shot of a cobblestone street. Get them across it,
Yeah, legit.
Make them ride it. They repaved half the cobble roads for the Tour de France back in 2022 rather. Make them do it again.
Yeah, legit. They'll just
even
be like
a couple, even like going to the Roubaix Velodrome and doing something there, like on the opening stage. If you have like a little lap of the Roubaix,
yeah,
easy. It's probably logistically quite hard, but still, come on.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like you literally go like, oh look, here's that 5-star sector. We're not going on it, but there it is. It's just like, come on, ASO, bloody, go on, Christian Prudhomme, get to the front and send them down there.
We're getting edged. I believe that's the term.
Yeah, okay.
But
sorry.
Did they rule out we're not going to have it maybe on the 4th stage? It's completely, that's it. Basically disappear off into wherever.
Yes, so we begin stage 4 in Amiens, beautiful city. And then we go somewhere, but it's not going to be cobblestones. In the announcement about the parkour, they were asked about like, oh, why no cobblestones? They said like blah, blah, blah. But there will be cobblestones at Tour de France, just not in 2025.
Wow. That's sad. I mean, to make it...
where are we going to go? Like,
France.
Probably to... Yes.
Tour de France, yeah.
Luxembourg.
Anyone who's liking the change up of the final stage as well, they did reveal as well they're going back to Paris. So
this was expected, but
yeah,
it was only a one-off because of the Olympic Games.
Yeah, true.
Paris needs to bid for the Olympic Games a lot more often. If they could afford to do so, and if the people of Paris are okay with that.
Change the rules so it's every year.
Well, if we call it, if they do it like the Giro, actually, well, the Giro now just goes to the highest bidder. But if you have it so like it goes around France, and you have it like in one year it's like in Lyon, the other year it's in Bordeaux or so forth, and you go around and have like cool finishes. Maybe one year ends in Lourdes or something, It'd be cool. But hey ho, we have to go to the Champs-Elysees.
How long do you think it will take until we get a Grand Depart in Saudi Arabia, given how they're taking all of the sports world?
What rogue.
Maybe
question.
2026 starts in Riyadh.
Well, to be fair, I did feel like we were going to get a Grand Departenza in Dubai for a while, given that the Giro, RCS were doing a lot of schmoozing with UAE, the country, not the team. But we haven't had that yet. But I think it's only a matter of time. Yeah, especially, I mean, Saudi Arabia getting the World Cup in 2000, whichever year that will be, 36, I think. And you got all the Saudi sports washing money. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. It's just sad.
That'd be a Sprinters Grand Depart.
It's just sad.
Yeah, true.
It's just sad. Just don't send a race there. It's just wrong.
No, Tour Qatar, one of the best races there was, and never is again, unfortunately.
That World Champs, which Sagan won against.
Yeah, but the crosswinds, it's so amazing having a crosswind in the desert.
It's so good. I really love the UAE Tour. The UAE Tour would be so good if all the sprint stages were 50k. I don't need all this time looking at sand. I know you can just tune in at the end, but there's just no need. When everyone is riding around in zone 1 for all of it, it doesn't add fatigue when you're doing 100 watts. Just make it 50k, make it an hour, make it full gas, and then make it a sprint at the end. It's just, no need for the rest of it.
This is why it's going to take 15 years for the Tour de France to go there, because they're building that big line city. That'll be something to show on TV. And all these new like urban development projects in Saudi Arabia to become like the hub of the Middle East. And then finally we'll have something to look at on TV. But you know what? I'd prefer a crosswind stage in somewhere in Europe, to be honest, Scott. I even think a Grand Depart in Algeria would be sick. That would be
That's not Europe.
It's not.
It's not Europe.
I know it's not. I think where it's not Europe, but like if we were to go outside of Europe, I think Algeria or even like Quebec would be awesome.
The Giro were toying with New York as well as a Grand Depart. Maybe wishful thinking.
Probably is back as well.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, they want to go everywhere.
I mean, I feel like it's risky banking crosswinds on like your Grand Depart to make it work, as we saw in Denmark when we went over a massive bridge for the sole purpose of making echelons, and there was nothing. All that happened on that stage was who won that day? Was it Jakobsen?
Yeah,
Jakobsen. Okay, right, cool, nice.
Great Netflix episode that.
Yeah. Ride of the week?
Yeah, finally. Okay, who wants to go first? Ride of the week. Here we go, cyclocross people. Here we go.
Yep. Cyclocross. I will go.
Oh, actually, no. We had the Taiwanese Road National Championships.
Be real. You watched that.
Oh God, I'm not having this. It's cyclocross.
A World Tour rider finished in second place, to be fair.
Exactly, but they should be winning.
I think he won the time trial, did he not?
He did, yes.
Yeah. What's his name?
Sergio 2.
Well done, Sergio.
He's not my ride of the week.
Mine is Mara Schreiber. She finished in second place in the World Cup today behind Lucinda Bland, and that is her first World Cup podium. She's only 20 years old, and she doesn't ride under SD Works, but she rides like SD Works kit and bikes. I presume that she's in their road team. So that's going to be another cool SD Works dominating rider for us all to watch in the future. But also, she's from Luxembourg. I've got a soft spot for Luxembourg riders. I guess it's just a small nation, and I think it's just kind of like a kind of wacky flag, even though it kind of looks like a Dutch one. But Mara Schreiber, 20 years old. Keep tabs on it.
Yeah. Luxembourg coming back to the Eurovision Song Contest next year. Just thought I'd drop that one in.
Exactly. Up the Luxembourg.
I'm choosing a rider who has been World Tour now for a couple of years, but did not get any credit whilst he was World Tour. Felix Gross, because he's not going to be World Tour next year. He's going to Radnet, which is a continental squad. But he had a viral video of himself holding onto a truck whilst riding on the road that went quite viral. And I think that's impressive that he's been spoken about more for this viral video of him holding onto a truck than he ever was being World Tour for the past 3 seasons. So that is why Felix Gross is my rider of the week. Just want to give him one last shout out before he fades into obscurity on the continental level for the rest of his career.
That seems like such a backhanded compliment.
So, Felix Gross, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but you got to mention.
People were furious about this. Like, he's hanging onto a truck. I'm like, if you could, you probably would. Maybe he was bonking. You don't know. Anyway, Scott.
Quick way to get to the A&E.
I mean, it's sorry, because you're just breaking with it. You just like, don't go doing it at home, kids.
Don't.
We do not endorse that kind of behaviour. We're just making that very clear.
Okay, I was going to pick Eli Iserbyt, but that seems too easy because it's cyclocross. So I'm going to go Sergio 2. I'm going to go Sergio 2 because it's like, when have we ever had a Taiwanese World Tour rider as Ride of the Week? And he finished second in the Asian Cycling Championships as well in the time trial. So 26 years old. He's been on the World Tour. Well, this was his first season, so maybe great things in 2024.
Wow. I'll believe it when I see it.
Ouch. Well, isn't that the thing for everything?
I guess it is.
While we're not GC in the Giro.
Right.
This is not quite the same level of speculation.
Is Wout not going to win the Giro first, or is 2 going to win a stage of anything first?
I would not finish that sentence. This could haunt you for years to come if he goes to win
a stage of something.
Tour of Austria.
Before Wout van Aert wins the Giro.
I mean, he's a time trialist, so maybe you could pick up a time trial here or there.
Exactly. I think it's good odds. Open the betting market right now.
Do you know who won the Asian Games where he was top 5 in? Who won the time trial?
Alexander.
Yay!
How are you going to say Miguel Angel?
Wait, how would he even win the Asian one?
I don't know, because he's everywhere, isn't he? It's just he'll change the nationality to win any TT because he is TT Lopez.
Oh, Lopez. Let's see if he comes back. Anyways, with that, finish with two of our favorites, Miguel Angel Lopez and Alexei Lukashenko, getting mentions even though they haven't been on a bike competitively this week. That's it for our 45th episode of National Cycling Podcast. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel to help us out, and if you haven't already, head over to Spotify and give us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate that. Check out our Twitters, all in the description. Of course, as always, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.